Just testing out the angles here, just making sure everything's working with the sound, and I can see our sound bar active there. Perfect. So welcome along to today's class. This is a collaboration between Siel, Bleu, Ireland and the Irish Cancer Society. So delivering you these staying well while staying home exercise classes. My name is Shane. I've been with you the last couple of weeks, and we've kind of been gradually building things up. But always to remember, maybe if this is new to you, just do whatever you're comfortable with. Any movements that cause any kind of pain, irritation, I would always say leave the movement out. Don't persist with something that just doesn't feel good. The nature of the session, we will do a lot of strength and aerobic here. So we try and keep ourselves moving and active throughout this session. A couple of things that you might want to have. Whether you're performing the session in standing or seated, and we can adapt it to do it either way, just having a good sturdy chair that you can use. Just having a bottle of water you can sip on throughout the session. And if you have some kind of weights that you can use, so they can be tins, bottles, and even for some of the movements you might like to adapt and just simply take weights out of the movement. So that's absolutely fine. You can always adapt and change all of these movements. So we'll start our warm-up very shortly. We'll just get the body moving. I will lead the warm-up in standing, and you can mimic that in seated. But with our kind of standing or with our main circuit of work, I will give a very clear demonstration of how you can adapt each movement to a seated position. So just doing as much as you're comfortable. We like to work kind of hard, give ourselves a challenge. We might have a light sweat, might feel a little kind of out of puff in our breath, but we're never breathless, never unable to talk, and never uncomfortable through any of the movements. So I think what we'll do is we'll just get started, get straight into it, and get our body moving and warmed up. So I'm going to start with my shoulders, and just very simply shrugging my shoulders up and down. Another thing, just because it can happen with the technology, if anything were to happen with our stream, we will just start up a new stream straight away on our YouTube channel. So just hopefully now we'll have no issues. But if anything were to happen, for any reason the stream froze, we will set up a fresh stream just on our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to find that in the event of any issues. Moving into shoulder circles next, just rolling the shoulders back. Getting those shoulders moving. Hopefully it's nice where you are. It's really, really terrible where I am, the weather. So that makes our exercise session all the more important, where maybe it's going to be really difficult to get out. As I change to forward circles now. Just so we can get ourselves active and moving with this session, where otherwise it might be very difficult to get some movement in today. We're going to work hard, and we'll have given our body a good challenge by the end of this session. Next, what I want to do is just bringing my arms out and just into a rowing action. So just very simply pulling back, tucking the elbows in, and rowing right back into my tummy. So I'm looking to get a little bit of a connection and a squeeze with the back of my body. So just rowing, pulling back. My chest naturally kind of rises out as I pull back and get that nice feeling in my back. Okay, moving up, bringing hands to about chest height. I want to start pressing forward straight out from my chest. We have a little bit of work on our chest in the circuit. We're going to do a wall push-up or a press. So I'm just kind of checking out that movement. Does my chest feel good? Before we get more active in terms of pushing it a little bit harder. So just pushing straight out from your chest, directly out in front. And down. What I'm going to do next is just start curling the arms and just lightly digging my heels out. So just getting a little bit more dynamic with our movement. Just curling arms, so hands towards shoulders, and just digging the heels out one at a time. So I'm just bringing my heart rate gradually up. I'm loosening out all the joints, and I'm just warming my body up. So if I physically feel a little bit tight and stiff, before we get a lot more active and challenging movements, we're just warming, opening up that body. Next, what I want to do is just raise the arms in front and then directly to my side. And just careful if there is any chair alongside you there, that you'll just move out of the way of that. In front and side. So just opening up from my shoulders, just kind of testing out these angles and ranges. Does this feel okay, or does any part of my body feel stiff and tight before we start to push harder? Okay, and then one more movement for the upper body, or actually two more. Arms across chest, pull back, open nice and wide. And that's a movement I like to do a lot. And just opening up around the chest and getting a nice squeeze of the shoulder blades. Just pulling back, opening up nice and wide. Okay, and then just bringing hands together. Thinking about keeping my hips straight ahead as they are. I turn my body to the right and then over to the left. Just taking my time, not rushing through this movement. Just slowly keeping my head in line with the movement. Just going slowly from side to side. And back down. Next, I will use my chair for this while standing. I'm just going to go into a nice big knee lift per side. So thinking less about a fast march and more about a big lift. Opening up, just switching on with my hips and getting a nice big lift of the knee. And I'll just use that chair just to give me a little bit of support, and particularly if you felt unbalanced. So big lift, big lift. Okay, and then from there, again, you can hold your chair here if you like. Just lightly kicking the heels back behind your body. So switching on, connecting with the back of my legs here. And that little shift side to side as I curl those heels back one at a time. And back in. And next, again, you can hold on to that chair if you like. Just lightly kick the legs out or extend the legs out. Again, not to a point where I'm losing shape here. Just nice and light, kicking the legs out. Just getting them moving here. And then we're just going to pay a little bit of attention to the ankles next. Really important, I always say. I think the first thing when we get up in the morning, those feet. So we're on our feet. So we want to give a little bit of attention to the ankles. So a movement I quite like. Hold on to your wall or hold on to your chair. But what I want to do is just dig the heel to the floor and then point the toes down. So we go heel, toes, just swapping between those two positions. Heel, toes. So what I'm looking to do is get a little bit of movement through my ankle, maybe feeling a little connection on the back of the leg or front of the leg here. So heel, toes. And swap, I go over to my left side again, supported by my wall. Heel, toes, heel, toes. And we'll just keep that one moving, really opening up, because as I say, it's come up a lot as a question, people saying, calf, back and lower leg feels tight, stiff, particularly if they're out walking or exercising. They're feeling it's maybe a little bit tight and stiff. So a little bit of a tension down there can be really good. Heel, toes. And rest. Okay, so what we're going to do is almost in a sense like a continuation of our warm-up. We're going to move into our main aerobic block of work. So what that entails is 3 movements which can be performed standing or seated, where we push at a nice intensity. Think of being on an exercise bike, treadmill, or a brisk walk. That's the kind of intensity that you feel your body is active, not to a point you're uncomfortable or breathless, but where you are feeling that your body is active and you're getting a little bit of challenge. I will lead these movements in standing, but it's just to perform them in exactly the same way if in a seated position. Really nothing changes, it's just the same but from your chair. So what I want to do is, starting in about 20 seconds, we've been adding a little bit of kind of coordination to make this aerobic work kind of challenging and interesting the last few weeks. So what I want to do with this first movement is raise my right arm and left knee at the same time. My chair is here if I need for balance. In a seated position, exactly the same movement. So how that looks, just lifting my right arm and left knee. My upper body stays strong in that I'm not bending forward. And I'm going to perform this for about 50 seconds. And then we'll have a light march in between and we'll set up to the next movement, which will be the opposite side. If I feel in any way unbalanced, I grab onto my chair just to keep me comfortable. And if I prefer, I perform the movement in a seated position, raising the arm, lifting the knee. I start kind of at a comfortable pace, making sure I feel strong and balanced with the position. And then I'll start moving into a nice moderate pace where I get a challenge, but I can still talk and I'm still in control. And just march the position out. Okay, so just a couple of seconds to set up. The purpose of this march is just to let you kind of catch your breath. If that was really tough, particularly as we go on, we can take a little breather, but we're still active, we're still moving. Now I'm swapping to the opposite side. So that means lifting my left arm and right knee, like so. And again, I would hold my chair to my side if I felt I needed it for support. If I felt in any way unbalanced, I hold my chair. If you're in a seated position, the movement is the same. Opposite arm and leg. So lifting your left arm and right knee at the same time. So I'm going at a nice moderate pace. I feel a challenge. My body is active. Not easy, but not so hard that I'm completely breathless or pumping sweat or that it's in any way uncomfortable. But certainly feeling a challenge, which is what I want. Last few seconds. And return to march. So again, just catching my breath, slowing the pace down if I need, right into a walking pace if needed. In your chair, just keep marching with those feet. Boxing movement next. Seated or standing, the instruction is the same. So we're going to soften our knees. We're not too tight, rigid. Soften your knees. Hands up and clenched. What I want to do is punch across to the left and then over to the right. If we're standing, you'll see how I just kind of lightly swivel my feet. I don't want this to be a blocky, rigid movement. Whether seated or standing, just keep the arms nice and light. Think flow or stretch across the body, side to side. And you might know a couple of kind of sound effects that exhale as I press. And that's fine. Just keep the movement nice and light, nice and soft through your knees. Not too blocky and rigid that you're not turning your body really harshly. Just keep it nice and light and pressing across your body. And return back to march. So they are 3 movements. We repeat them a second round and a third round. So it's just all about keeping your body active. Think working the heart, working the lungs, keeping your body active. Slow it down at any point you need. Use your chair for support and a seated position if you need. Straight in. Right arm, left knee. As we move into that second round. So we can kind of feel of our 3 movements now. If there was one you didn't like or one you feel you need to slow down a bit, that's absolutely fine. Maybe you feel you need your chair for support. Again, that's all absolutely fine. Seated position, working hard as well, lifting that right arm and lifting the left knee. Again, I like to go at a nice kind of moderate intensity that I'm active. I feel my body working, but in no way am I uncomfortable, pumping sweat or completely breathless. Again, we add that element of balance, coordination, just for a little bit of extra challenge with this aerobic block of work. And I return back to march, catching my breath, slowing the pace right down if I need. Now, next side, so that means my left arm and right knee, and I'll begin. Maybe start the first rep or 2 kind of slow, cautious. Just make sure you feel strong and balanced with the position. And then just continuing on. So left arm, right knee. Sorry, I was glitched a little bit there. That will happen a couple of times with these streams. We're just continuing on. You hear my instruction. Left arm, right knee. Any way unbalanced, grabbing your chair. Seated position, exactly the same. Left arm, right knee. Again, a moderate intensity. I'm still in control, but feeling a good challenge. and return. Back to march. Boxing next. Again, your instruction here will be just keep those knees nice and soft, that you're not too rigid and tense with your position. Clench the hands and just keep a very light flow across the body rather than turning your body really harshly and being really blocky with the movement. So let's begin. Soft knees, hands clenched, punch across, punch across. And exactly the same in that seated position. Your instruction is the same. Punch across the body. We can add that light swivel with our feet just to assist with the movement. You see how I'm not really turning that body too much. It's just a very light press across the body, keeping it moving side to side. Punch across, punch across. A little bit of boxing always enjoyable as well. We're saying this one, you can always imagine maybe you get someone who annoys you and just kind of let fly. Last couple of seconds and return. Right, one last round, really good stuff. So 1/3 final round, repeating those same 3 movements. Again, any point this is a little bit uncomfortable, slow the pace down, take a rest, take some water. Otherwise, we go straight in again, still working hard. Right arm, left knee. So let's begin. Again, making sure I feel strong and balanced. Maybe it felt very easy to begin. Maybe it feels a bit tougher now. So just kind of where if you need to change something, that's absolutely fine. Maybe now you just need that little bit of support. So making those little adjustments if we need. Right arm, left knee. Keeping my body active and moving, working hard. So again, might be like a little bit red, maybe a light sweat. Feel that you're active and working, but as I keep repeating that, in no way completely breathless, not in any pain with any movement. And I feel in control with everything here, but working hard. Back to march. Again, catch your breath. Air in, air out. Take a sip of water at this point if you need. And we'll be going next with left arm and right knee. So that element of coordination, just to kind of get this movement right as well. So let's go. Left arm, right knee. Again, that chair beside me if I wanted for balance, for support. And in that seated position, performing the movement in the same way. Right knee, left arm. So again, just think we've kept our body active, moving for about a 10-11 minutes here, where we're just always active, always moving, building up that endurance. So being able to tolerate good kind of challenge, good workload, and dealing really well with it. Left arm, right knee. Last couple of seconds with this movement. And return, back to march. Again, keep sipping on that water if you need. Boxing next, side to side, seated, standing. Your instruction is the same. We just want to soften the knees. So let's set up nice soft knees, hands clenched. I'm going to lightly swivel as I punch across each direction. So what that means is my heel lifts up. I'm just going to lightly swivel on my toes. Just keep it nice and light, pressing across the body. As I say, avoiding kind of turning the body really harshly here. Just let the arm flow, nice and light. Just stay at a pace where you feel comfortable. Again, that in no way do we want to feel unbalanced or uncomfortable here. Even if you don't like that swivel, I don't mind if you want to just kind of keep the feet firmly planted. If that makes you feel more comfortable, that's fine. So whatever way this just works best for you. And rest. Okay, so that is our aerobic block of work done. Really good stuff, really good start. Hopefully we feel that and feel a good challenge. They're really active, pushed hard there, building up endurance, working the heart, working the lungs. So we're going to move into our strength circuit. We're no rush here, so I'm just going to give you a little breather. Take a drink of water, and then we'll start to set up our next couple of movements. So this is where we will work on building up strength. So think about our muscles, our bones, keeping them strong. That's what the goal of this next block of work is. So I'm going to set up our next. So this will be 5 movements. We work for just over a minute per movement. So the idea is there's no pressure. You're not trying to hit maybe 10 reps in a certain time. So there's no rush. We'd rather kind of 5 slow, good repetitions than 10 really fast where you're losing control. So just keep it all controlled. First movement I'm going to demonstrate is a wall push-up, okay? So I'm going to show you how we can adapt that exercise as well. So I'm going to set up my timer here, and then we'll set that one up, okay? So movement number 1. I'm going to show you the wall push-up first. I'm going to show you an adaptation if you don't have a wall nearby, and equally if you're in a seated position. If we have a wall, you're going to bring your hands about chest height, shoulder width. So I'm not up here, not out really wide, and not down at my tummy. So chest height, shoulder width. That's my setup point. I place my hands against the wall, and I walk back. So I'm right up onto the toes of my feet. My heels are off the ground. If you don't like that, you can keep the heels planted. It's up to you. The further away I am for the wall, the harder this is. The closer I am, the easier it is. What I will do from this position is lower my body into the wall and then press back out. Thinking of a straight line that I don't want to drop from the hips or just drop the upper body. I want my body as one straight line, dropping into the wall, pressing back out. I'll exhale as I press out, inhale as I lower to the wall. Now, if you don't have a wall nearby, that's absolutely fine, no problem. What you can do is take your 2 weights up at chest height, just soften your position, nice soft knees, push out from chest and back in. Push from chest, back in. And finally, just of course, you can do that same motion in a seated position. So you can take that little bit of support for your back, push out in front and back in. And any difficulty with that movement, drop the weights and focus on that pressing action out from chest. Okay, so we're going to start the clock and we're going to start that movement now. Okay, so again, I will lead with the wall push-up. Again, if you don't have a wall nearby, it's kind of too awkward to set that up. You can stick with that press with, without weight, seated or standing. Okay, otherwise, let's start the clock. We'll set up one more time. Hands, chest height, shoulder width. I place my hands against the wall or surface that I'm using here. I walk back, so I'm on the toes of my feet. And I begin. Straight line. Lower into the wall. Press back out. Inhale as I lower. Exhale as I press. I think of my body as a nice straight line. It all drops in together. I think about my chest. And I might feel the back of my arms very active here as well. So a really upper body movement here. If this is uncomfortable, I'll walk myself closer into the wall. If I feel maybe a little bit of pressure through the wrists, I mightn't go so far into the wall. I might just control the range a little bit less. Otherwise, keep that body nice and straight as you drop into the wall and then press away. All the work through my chest and my arms, feeling my arms very active as well. Exhale as I press. Inhale as I lower. Just checking our clock. One more. And rest. Okay, so strong, powerful upper body movement. Imagine if you ever found yourself on the floor, that ability to press away. Really important strength. Weighted squat or sit to stand next. So a couple of ways we can do this. I want you to take your 2 weights, if that's comfortable to you. And what I'm going to do in this position is squat or sit to stand. So if you know squatting isn't a movement you like, what I want you to do is you can take your 2 weights and go for a leg extension instead. So leg extension. If you're okay with the squat, however, I want you to soften your knees, feet maybe about hip width apart here, chest up, holding your 2 weights. We can either squat or fully sit to the chair. So I will demonstrate this as a squat, coming back up. If, however, I need, I can fully sit to the chair. So whatever way you feel you need. If you want to perform this without weight, we can get rid of the weights and just focus on the movements. Points that I like to think of here. My knees are staying in line with my toes. They're not caving in. My hips are moving down and back, and then forward as I stand. All the while, that upper body stays straight. So I'm keeping my chest out and I'm looking forward. I'm really keen that I don't round or bend as I stand up. If you find this really difficult, I suggest kind of allowing yourself to fully sit to the chair like I demonstrate there. Only if you feel really strong with the movements, we can go with this weighted squat. But again, you might like to just get rid of the weights. So there's lots of choice, variety, whatever way this works best for you. Excellent. Second movement done. Dropping 1 weight next. Front raise. We're going to do this as a dynamic kind of step and front raise. But if you're in a seated position, what I want you to do is just focus on raising the 1 weight at a time. Okay? If we're in standing, we're adding a little step. I can have my chair alongside for support if I need. What I want to do is weight in my right hand, raise the right arm, and a small step forward with my left foot. Keeping my upper body position strong, that core is active. I'm not rounding or arching that back. I'm going to show you a couple from the side, how that looks. Very small, subtle step. The reason or the purpose of adding this step, we're just adding a little bit of extra challenge into a regular front raise. The raise, I don't need to go any higher than shoulder level, and I keep it as a nice smooth action, just making sure I'm not swinging that weight. So nice controlled raise, back down. I keep it dynamic, active, my body is moving as I raise the weight. Keeping a strong position, never arching that back. So if you don't like this movement, take the feet out, keep them static, and just focus on that raise. Okay? And rest. Working from the opposite side. And what I always say is think of this first round, you're getting a feel for the movement. So maybe you're trying 1 or 2 things out that you haven't before. Get a feel for them. And if you don't like something, you know now for round 2 and 3. So maybe I don't like that step. I just want to keep it static. Maybe I prefer this seated. So just making yourself aware of what way you like. Left arm. So holding the weight with my left hand. Small step forward and raising of the weight. Exhale as I raise. Inhale as I lower. Again, I'm not looking to lunge out or go really far. Just a very small step forward with that right foot. So I'm lifting that weight, a slightly unnatural base of support. So it's challenging my body that bit more, that I have to keep my core active in a nice, strong upper body position. Being careful that I'm not arching that lower back and that I'm not bending in any way. Weight goes no higher than shoulder level. And a nice smooth raise and a controlled lowering down. So think you're controlling that weight. Never just kind of swinging the weight without control. Raise and control lower back. If you find this difficult, pause your stance. Might just place hand on tummy and focus on raising the weight like so. Or supported by my chair. Seated position, raising the weight in exactly the same way. Rest. One final movement are heel raises. A couple of ways to do this again. Version number 1, which I'm going to show, will be holding your 2 weights, feet, my toes are pointed straight ahead, and I will lift my heels straight up off the floor. If that's not something I'm comfortable with, I hold on to the back of my chair and lift the heels. If I'm in a seated position, walk your feet back a little bit, and again, just lifting the heels up. So, leading with the standing version. 2 hands on the waist, toes point to the head. I lift my heels up. So, that added challenge of a little bit of weight. And I'm going to show you from the side that I want to keep my body nice and straight. So, making sure you feel strong and balanced if performing this weighted version. So if I in any way felt this just wasn't working or didn't feel good, I would drop my weights and hold on to the back of the chair. I want a little bit of separation with every rep. So a nice big lift up onto the toes, back down, reset. That I don't end up kind of bouncing up and down, that there is that little bit of control and purpose with every lift and raise of the heels. I'm mindful that my hips don't take over, that I don't sway forward and back. That body should stay nice and straight. Whether holding the chair, holding your weights, or in the seated position, all that work through the back of my lower legs. And one more, and rest down. Brilliant. So first movement's done. Take our first round done. So take a little breather. So what we're always thinking, that's your first round of movements completed. So what I'm thinking there, is there anything you don't like? And if there is anything you don't like, just to please change the exercise. So it could be as simple as taking weight from the movement. It could mean performing it seated instead of standing, or just changing it a little bit, just changing the movement ever so slightly. If everything felt okay, we're going to move into the next round. So let's set up my clock. Frozen there. So second round, same idea, push nice and hard. If everything felt okay, we're going with the same kind of movements. Changing anything that you don't like, taking a rest at any point you need. So movement number 1, wall push-up. So remember again, in seated or standing, we can go with a weighted press. Straight out from your chest, keeping that in line with your chest, and a nice smooth press. In terms of the wall setup, chest height, shoulder width, that's my hand placement, placed against the wall. I walk back a little bit, and I like to be on the toes of my feet. Body is straight. I lower into the wall, press back out, and we begin. So my body drops as a nice straight line in, and then back out. I exhale, breathe out as I press away, air in as I lower. I'm thinking about my chest, and I'm thinking about the back of my arms. I want my body to drop in as one, that I don't just drop in from my shoulders here, or that I don't just drop the hips in. I want the body moving as a nice straight line, all as one. Think no differently to how you would press if you were on the floor. Pressing up and away, and then slowly lowering back in. If you find this a little bit uncomfortable, maybe on the wrist or the hands, I might lower the range, and then I won't drop quite as close into the wall. And I might walk my feet closer as well if it's tough. And rest. Second movement. I'm going to show you this squat from the side this time. Again, squat or sit to stand. And there is, of course, always that seated leg extension. But again, I will add that little bit of weight for challenge. Feet, hip width here. My knees are soft. Chest out. I'm holding my 2 weights if I want to add weight to the movement. And I begin squatting down. And then straight back up. Squatting down. Straight back up. Again, if I want, I can fully turn this into a sit and stand. Or we can just continue to squat. So I might just lightly tap the chair with my bum. I want to keep that upper body nice and straight. I'm never rounding my back. My knees are staying in line with the toes. And we want those hips active here. My hips are going down and back towards that chair. and then they're coming forward as I stand. Simple adjustments, squatting or sit to stand, with or without weight. Seated leg extension, also there is a choice. Tough, strong, powerful movements. I'm never in a rush with my squat. I take my time, performing good movement every time. Not rushing, not bouncing up and down. So taking our time, a little reset with every rep. And rest. Dropping one weight down. Back to our front raise. So our single arm front raise today. We've done lots of different variations with the shoulders, and this is just another adaptation. So if you found maybe just doing the two arms as a front is getting, just for a little bit of variety and challenge. That's why we change movements up a little bit like this. Chair here if I need. Right arm holding the weight. Small step and raise. Again, simple adaptations. I can hold on to my chair. I can take the feet out of the movement in the sense that I'll keep them static, and I might just place hand on my belly and raise the weight. And of course, I can perform this in the seated position in the same way. Nice straight arm. Breathing out as I raise. Inhale as I lower. My back, my upper body stays strong. My core is active, so I'm never arching up that back or swinging the weight. Controlled raise every time. Again, this can get very tiring, can get tough. If you need, maybe just take a couple of seconds, just walk forward and back, and then return when you feel ready. So nothing wrong if maybe you just need to give the shoulder a couple of seconds. When you isolate it like this with the one arm, it can be quite tough. And back down, swap sides. So now I'll have the chair to the opposite side, just if I felt I needed it. And with another couple of seconds, so there's no hurry, we use up our rest. Now I'm raising with my left arm, so my left hand on the weight, and that'll mean my right foot stepping forward. So 3, 2, 1, we'll begin. Raising with my left arm, no higher than shoulder level. And that light or small step forward with my right foot. Again, just not allowing myself to rush here. Taking my time. Core is active. Body stays strong. I'm never arching this back and I'm never swinging that weight. It's a very controlled movement from that shoulder. Raise, lower back down. Breathing as I raise and back in as I lower. If this is getting tough, take your foot out of the movement, maybe putting hand on belly here just to keep everything in control. And if you need to rest maybe for a couple, just lightly stepping forward and back, giving the shoulder a couple of seconds and then continuing on. There's all these little things we can do just to change, adapt, just to make something a little bit better if it's uncomfortable in any way. I can hold on if I want, seated position if I like, and rest. Heel raises. Again, remember we can do this heel version in a seated position. I just walk the feet back and lift the heels up. Standing, we can do this holding on to the back of our chair and lifting those heels up. And in our standing, our third version, which I'm demonstrating, I'm holding my two weights. My toes are faced directly in front, and I begin lifting my heels up. Whichever version, I try and get a little bit of separation. So I try and get a little pause at the top, down, reset, new rep. That I don't end up bouncing up and down and using momentum to propel the movement. So it's a very purposeful lift every time. My body stays straight. The hips aren't rocking forward and back here. If I don't like this version, I drop the weights and I would hold on to the back of my chair. And your seated position, again, just lifting those heels up. Good, strong, purposeful lift. Right up onto your toes every time. Again, this might kind of feel a very simple movement to begin. As we start to go along with the time, it gets more tiring and we might feel a nice burn on the back of those lower legs. Strong, important muscle, our calf, back of those lower legs. And rest, okay? So that is your second round finished. Again, I want you to take a little bit of a breather, take a little break, and we will set up shortly again for our final round. So again, I might just take a sip of water. So again, just kind of ask yourself, how's everything feeling? Is it okay? Hard, easy? Do I need to slow it down, or maybe kind of put a little bit more intensity and effort in if it's a bit easy? So making changes. Am I performing a movement with, without weight? Am I doing it seated or standing? We can make these little changes as required. If everything feels okay, we're going to get straight in with third final round. So again, wall push-up. If you don't have your wall and you're not liking that movement, we can take our 2 weights. Nice smooth press directly out from chest. Not lurching the weight out, just a nice smooth line. And we can do that in a seated position if we wish. With, without weight, way is best. If going for the wall push-up, hands about chest height and shoulder width apart. That's my start point. Putting the clock on. I place my hands against the wall. I walk back so my heels are up, but you can keep them down. And I lower myself into that wall. Press back out. A nice straight line, dropping into the wall, pressing back out. The further those feet are from the wall, the harder we make this movement. So walking your feet back in a little bit closer if this is really tough. Dropping in, pressing out. Breathe out as I press away. Air in as I lower. Making sure the full body is moving here. Not just dropping from those shoulders and not just sagging our hips in. Think of the body moving as one, into the wall and back out. If we're working with that press instead, a nice smooth press, nice straight line out from your chest. Either way, working our chest, maybe feeling the back of those arms very active as well here. One more rep. And rest. Back to our squat or sit to stand. I'm going to show this just kind of without the chair there now fully, but again, you can do this as a leg extension. We can do this as a full sit to stand, or we can do it as a full squat. Feet hip width, knees soft, holding my 2 weights. So again, I want to just squat down and back up. So what do I think of? I want to keep my knees in line with my toes. I want to keep my hips moving down and back. And I want to keep my upper body straight, that I don't bend that back ever. So that movement through hips, really important. Simple changes. Getting rid of the weights, for example, if this is really difficult. Moving right back to my chair if I want to turn this into a sit to stand, or just to guide me. If I feel in this position I'm starting to bend, bring it right back into your chair and just have that little bit of guidance where you can touch off the chair. And just lets me know I'm moving down and back. So making these little changes as required. Nice, comfortable pace. Not bouncing up and down with this movement. Working hard, but in control. And rest. Dropping one weight out of the movement. And back to our front raise single arm. Again, you can have your chair alongside you. You can sit into that chair. And you can perform this if standing with our forward step or without that forward step if you're finding this. Right arm, hand holding the weight, raise, and a very step forward. Core active, upper body strong. Never arching that back. and never swinging that weight. Just a nice controlled raise directly in front. A couple from the side. Very light, small step in front, just to keeping the movement dynamic and moving. Anyway, feeling uncomfortable, I'm going to stop. I'm going to put hand on tummy just to help guide me along. And if you feel you need to sit a few out, just stepping forward and back, giving the shoulder a couple of seconds rest. Making those changes as needed. But again, just key that we're not swinging our dumbbell or weight. Nice, light, controlled raise. One more. And rest down. Opposite side. So I just have my chair the opposite side now, just for support if needed. And we're going to move into raising the left arm with a small step forward with the right foot. And again, keep the position static with the feet if you prefer. Perform this in a seated position if you prefer. So let's begin in about 5 seconds. Left hand with weight, arm straight. 3, 2, 1, and begin. Again, nice smooth raise, just nice straight arm. Lifting the weight to about shoulder height, no higher. And a very small step. Core is active, upper body is strong. If I want, I can take the step out of the movement and just keep myself strong in that position. I can hold my chair. Or I can just kind of take a couple of seconds out, lightly stepping forward and resting from that raise if we need. There's all these little choices, adaptations that make this work better for us. This is a tiring one. It is tough. Working that shoulder, isolation, just putting the work through that one side at a time. So again, if you need a little breather, it's absolutely fine. We're working nice and hard here. Last couple of reps. And rest. Brilliant work. So one last movement. And our heel raises. Performed seated. Performed holding the back of your chair. Or performing it with the added challenge of holding weight through each side. How that looks. Again, my feet, the toes are pointed straight ahead. Body is nice and straight. And I begin lifting my heels up. Now you can maybe hear that rain battering down. So as we're getting all this good work done, where maybe otherwise it would be hard to be, physically active today in the same way. So lifting those heels up, right up on my toes, back down. Nice purposeful lift every time, getting right up on my toes. Keeping my body straight. I just think I can only go up, back down. Up, back down. Up, back down. Feeling a nice burn on the back of my lower legs. And I can hold my chair if I prefer, getting rid of the weights if this is tough. Otherwise, we keep it going up and down, and that little separation with the rep every time. Heels up. Heels up. Last couple of reps. Maybe 2 or 3 left in this block of time. I think we'll get the 4th. And down and rest. Okay. We did really well there. Pushed hard. Feeling that on the calf, back and lower legs. Brilliant work. Worked very hard. So I'm going to stop that. Take a little rest. A sip of water. So that's a lot of good work there. Strength work, working for a good block of time there, over a minute per movement. Upper body, working our chest in particular. The first movement, we worked thinking our thighs in particular with our squats, our calf. So we really worked the whole body, not to mention then our aerobic work before, where we're really kind of working the heart and lungs just in terms of the movement and exertion. So a lot of work covered there today. So you'll even hear that little pant in my breath as I talk. So what I want to do now is cool down, bring my body back to a relaxed position. So a couple of movements, I will lead these in standing, and I might just finish it in a seated position in case you find some of these standing stretches difficult. Very simple movement first. Hands together, just going to lightly turn to the right, and again, keeping those hips as they are. So not trying to turn through my hips. Lightly turn over to the left. A couple of seconds. Again, just over to the right. And then again, nice and light over to the left. Again, just going to go over to the right. And over to the left. And back. So kind of working a stretch of the chest and the back of our body next. I'm going to show this from the side. My hands are up like the way we did with our wall push-up. So they're just in front of me here. I press out in front with the hands faced up. And in front of me here. Arms stretched out, hold. And then I want to pull those hands all the way back towards my shoulders here. That I'm now squeezing my shoulder blades together. Hold for a couple of seconds. Press out in front and hold. Again, pull back. Hold for a couple of seconds. And press out and hold. Again, for a couple of seconds. And press out and hold. And just pull back. We're going to do this one more time. Hopefully it feels nice for you as well. Just press out, stretch that position. And pull back. And down. Okay. Nice movement of the shoulders next. We can bring our hands together. Want to keep this body straight and just light. And back down. And again, pull back. And then one more time. Hands together. Lightly pull back. And back down. What I'm going to do next is just take it into a nice big knee lift and hold. Okay, so very welcome, Mary. Thanks very much. So is ever any feedback, hard, easy, maybe need more adaptations for a movement, don't be afraid to just let me know. I love delivering these sessions, so any feedback at all like that, do just let me know. But thanks very much for that, Mary. And really, you've been working hard the last couple of weeks, so keep up that good work, everyone. And we have progressed, so just little changes we've made, as I said, with the time. So we do work for a longer block of time compared to the first couple of weeks of these sessions. So we have made them a little bit harder. And some of those movements, we're trying little progressions to allow for that progression, that if you, instead of getting bored or that you're doing the same thing, we're trying to make little progressions with some of those movements. Hence why that front raise, for example, is a little bit different. But we still stick with fundamentally good movements like squats, push-ups and the like. Okay, next what I want to do is just curl my right leg behind. If that's comfortable, go ahead and grab the foot. If it's not, don't grab the foot, okay? And just lightly pull the leg back, stretching out that thigh front of my leg here. And then back down. I'm going to curl my left leg behind. Again, if you feel it's comfortable, grab the foot, lightly pull the leg back, and that will stretch the thigh, the front of that leg. Okay, one more time, and then I'll finish off in seated. So if you find this stretch difficult, not to worry, we will finish in a seated position. Again, I can grab, pull back. Well, very simply, if you don't like to grab, just lightly pull that leg back without holding the foot. And back down and swap. Left hand to left foot. Lightly pull back. Hold for a couple of seconds. And back down. Okay, so I promised there just that we'll finish in the seated position. Simple stretch. If I just bring my two legs out in front, point the toes forward, and then pull the toes back. So we'll do that twice more. Little pause each time, toes forward, pull back, and then again, toes point forward, toes pull back. and hold. Okay, and just returning in. I'll just what we want to do is just a couple of a little bit of light breathing, so we still feel kind of just to help us fully relax after that good work. So just going to rest my hands on my legs. Big deep breath in through my nose. Think 1, 2, inhale. Slow exhale, slow release. Out the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Nice slow exhale out the mouth. And again. Just going to do 2 to finish. And once more. Okay, so that's our session for today. Again, that's a collaboration between ourselves, Siel, Bleu Ireland, and the Irish Cancer Society, our Staying Well While Staying Home series. So again, really well done. As I said, a lot of work, a lot of hard work covered there. Don't worry if you find any of that difficult. You can break the movements down, maybe doing 1 round of a circuit, 2 rounds, and building it up and changing any movements. But again, kind of trying to set the bar high and work really hard. So brilliant work. And we'll talk to you again soon. So great work, everyone, and we'll see you next Wednesday at the same time. So great work and have a great week. Well done, Mary. Well done, everyone on YouTube there. Brilliant stuff.